The Archons of Sharlayan have been front and centre in the story of FF14 since the very beginning. It's not an organisation, rather a title of recognition granted only to select individuals. Given that Archons are a subject of interest in the upcoming Dawntrail expansion, let's explore that subject a little bit closer. Sharlayan society as most would know it today are the keepers of wisdom and knowledge. Its citizens, such as those in academic and scientific fields, devote their entire being to their fields of study. The title of Archon is bestowed upon those who excel in their chosen field. But it's not enough to simply excel. In Sharlayan, excellence is taken for granted. Being awarded the title of Archon comes with many benefits, such as unrestricted travel to and from Sharlayan and access to secure areas of Limion, the Great Sharlayan Library, which are restricted to most others. It also allows for others to accompany the Archon into Sharlayan, bypassing many of the restrictions at customs, such as when we first made our way to the city. So then, how does one become an Archon? Let's take a simple example, the field of study being the Ethereal Sea. Let's say there are 10 scholars in this field. The title of Archon for the study of the Ethereal Sea would be given to the one member who most contributed to the growth of this field. That one member who went above and beyond, the one whom you could ask any question about the subject, and they would not only have the answer, but would gladly share their own insights. That person would be the Archon in the field of study for the Ethereal Sea. The Archon title doesn't only apply to academics or the sciences, but every field of study you can think of. Being a great cook or chef in Sharlayan, and expanding the nation's knowledge of cuisine, could earn you the title of Archon. Or the humble gardener, the person who has perfected the arts of keeping a garden both healthy and as easily maintained as possible, could be another. I believe this is why there are so many fields to study in Sharlayan, and the Archon title would be a worthy and humble title that would not only honour the one who brings their field of study forward, but also inspire the next generation to do the same. You can easily tell who is an Archon by the unique arcane tattoos they bear. Most Archons have these placed on their necks, but that doesn't seem to be a rule, as Urianger for example has his on his cheek. Our friends in the Scions of the Seventh Dawn are the Archons we are most familiar with, as they were recruited by Archon Louisoix and came to Eorzea together. Y'shtola earned her title through the study of the arcane arts under Master Matoya. Speaking of her master, Matoya is also an Archon, but it's never stated in what field. But if I had to guess, she was either the previous Archon of the arcane arts before Y'shtola, or someone who studied aetherology, the very same field that Moonbreda studied and held the Archon title for. Urianger from a young age was fascinated by the subject of prophecy, and studied all sources he could get his hands on related to the subject. As such, he earned his Archon title for this field, and it's most likely these older tomes that influence his unique vocabulary and mannerisms. Then you have Grahatia, who did extensive study into the Allagan Empire, mainly due to his inheriting of the Allagan Eye, and earned his Archon status as the foremost expert on the subject. But as mentioned earlier, it's not all about academics. Thancred, for example, grew up on the streets of Limsa and was a pickpocket. One day, he happened to pick the pocket of Louisoix and was caught red-handed. Louisoix took him back to Sharlayan, where he delved into the study and practice of survival and intelligence gathering, what we call spycraft in our world. This earned him his Archon title. Lisa's sister Ida studied martial arts while residing in Sharlayan, and earned the title of Archon for her skill and the passing on of these disciplines. Lise wore her tattoos while posing as her sister. These are just some of the Archons we have met on our journey, we ourselves only having met a dozen or so. But just recently we have heard mention of another Archon named Wyrm, who wielded the arts of pictomancy, of which Kryl is now a practitioner. It's likely Wyrm earned their arcane status by the mastery of this discipline, and either wrote down all they knew of the subject so the art could continue on, or are still alive and teaching the art today. Archons are considered a rarity still in Sharlayan, and just because a field of study exists, doesn't mean there is an Archon within our ranks, at least not at this time. We know that Thankarid and Urianger were two Archons that were selected to go to Toral, but it's likely we may see other Archons there as well. But that is a brief overview of the Archons of Sharlayan.